And we are live, guys. Welcome, girls of high value, to another live stream from men of high value. Oh my gosh, I'm so confused. I've got several channels going on there. Okay, so from Girls of High Value channel, straight out of Oslo, Norway. My name is Joseph Darling. What we're going to talk about today is how to get along with your parents as a teenage girl. Now, this is a very tricky subject because during your teenage years, if you hopefully you have a good relationship with your mother or father. But what's happening more and more these days is that's not happening. Girls are becoming estranged from their parents, very often from their fathers, a lot of the time because they're growing up in single mother households. That happens. And very often as well, the girls don't even like their mothers sometimes because it's just difficult to listen to people that basically want the best for you, but you don't feel like they want the best for you. And you don't feel understood, and there's a lot of complications. So let's try to simplify this process and help you to understand how you can apply this to your life. First of all, they say that obedience is the first law of heaven, or the first law of the universe. Now, I don't agree with that statement. I do understand the fact that the planets are basically obeying the rules of gravity and they're obeying, the systems of the universe and all that stuff. Yes. However, the law that comes before obedience is communication and understanding. See, if you don't have communication and understanding, then how on earth are anyone going to be obedient? How on earth are anyone going to actually do what they're told to do unless they understand what their leaders are saying? And hopefully the leaders are actually knowing what they're talking about. Okay, so understanding and communication is the key to every single relationship on planet Earth. If there's communication, you can actually work on things. You can actually progress. But if there's arguing and the people are not listening to each other, that's not communication. You're not understanding each other if you're basically talking back and forth and raising your voice, and it's not collaboration, it's not teamwork, and it's not communication. You might be saying words, but the other person is not hearing it. If the other person is not hearing it, then there's no progress being made. Progress only happens when we seek to understand one another. So there's a principle from the book written by Stephen R. Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's a principle and a book in itself. And the principle is seek to understand before you seek to be understood. I'll repeat it. Seek to understand before you try to be understood. In simple principle, that means that instead of you talking too much, it's time to learn to listen. Ask questions. Seek to understand the viewpoint of the other person. Because the other person has a viewpoint for a reason. And especially if it's a strong viewpoint and a strong opinion. Instead of saying, no, you're wrong, and I don't want to listen to this, and you're stupid, and all that stuff, how is that going to help anyone? It's not. You've got to understand where they're coming from and then meet them where they're at. If you can meet them where they're at, it's then it makes it easier. This is a concept that I learned from basketball in some aspect, and actually with soccer. And the coach taught us that the ball, right, it will always move faster than the individual player. Correct? You can get a ball to go a lot faster than a human. And then he explained, this was an amazing coach. And then he also explained that in order for you to pass in a good manner, it's not just a good enough for a person to give a good pass to a different player. That player has to receive the pass by meeting the ball. Okay? Meet other people where they're at. Because if you don't meet the ball, guess what? It's more probable that someone can come in and interject and then mess up that process. In the same terms, this comes to communication. If you don't meet people where they're at, there's gonna be issues and obstacles in the way in between the communication and understanding of two people. But if you manage to meet them where they're at, then you can together understand what is actually going on. Why does that person think the way they think, and why are they stating the things that they're saying? The only way we can figure that out is one thing, and that is questions. Asking questions. Like I always say, questions are the answers. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to receive an answer. Ask and you shall receive. It's the same principle. Especially when it comes to getting along with your parents. If they're asking you to do something, like take out the trash, you don't need to ask them why. Why should I take out the trash? Okay, that's kind of wasting time and being kind of rude. Okay, if you're supposed to be doing that or supposed to help out or whatever. Does that make sense? But if they're telling you don't have sex before marriage or don't go out with that boy, then you should very nicely say, I thank you for your suggestion and your advice and the law that you're putting down, but I want to know why. Can you tell me why? And you do it in a nice manner, asking them and understanding their viewpoint so that you can progress, so that you can actually understand where they're coming from. So, I want you to seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Now, it's very tricky because teenage girls have a hard time feeling understood. No one is listening to them. I know, it sucks, but the only way you're going to have people listen to you is if you intently listen to them first. I know it sucks, but you've got to initiate. You've got to, again, this is why I always talk about spreading yourself too thin. You don't have capacity for everything, and that's why you should be throwing out things that don't matter in the long run. Like, for example, going to public school or private school, or, for example, all the 5 different sports you're doing, or getting good grades, or whatever. Do you understand? You don't have time and space and mind space for all of those things. What you do have time for, however, is making right decisions. Decisions that will matter for your long term. Okay? That's what you should have time for and focus on. And this is why it's critical that you understand your parents' viewpoints. Now, understanding your parents, I divided up in 3 parts. You want to understand their past. You want to understand their current views. And you want to understand why they want what they want about your future. Okay, so let's talk about the past a little bit. When it comes to your parents' past, you've got to realize that they were once a teenager just like you. They made mistakes just like you. And the beautiful thing about life is that we can actually improve and become better. And evolution, that's how evolution, grows. And everything does become better, just so you know. Everything becomes better. Unless, everything collapses completely. But at the end, if it's at that point as well, you can always build it up again. So understand, everything does become better as long as you keep, as you learn from history. That's the point. And this is what I want you to do with your parents. I want you to understand your history. More important than your great parent or your grandparents, your great grandparents, and your great 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 grandparents. Okay, family history in some ways is a waste of time if you don't understand your immediate relationships. Okay, Real life people are more important than invisible people. Real life people are more important than invisible people. You've got to seek to understand from someone who can actually communicate with you right here, right now. And that is what you can do with your parents. Ask them questions about their youth. Ask them questions about their teenage years. Ask them about their, like their experience with the temptations, the things that kind of could lead them astray during their teenage years. Ask them about how their first boyfriend, girlfriend. Ask them everything. Now, obviously, don't go into details about their sexual background and relationships and all that stuff. Like, you don't need to go too much into depth about that because it could get really uncomfortable. But you want to know why they have made, or why they made the decisions that they made in order to get to where they are today. This is important whether they are happy today or whether they're depressed today or whether anything. You've got to understand their past. I did this just a couple of months ago. I went to my parents' house. They're in their 70s, and I asked them these hard questions. I asked them, what happened? What happened in your 20s? How did you guys meet? Why did you make the decisions that you made? Why? I wanted to know my history, because if I understand them, I can understand me. I can understand my siblings. I can understand why all of these things have happened the way that they have happened. Believe it or not, it stems always from the parents. Even though it's hard for them to admit it as well, because, taking responsibility for something that happens that's not you, i.e. your children, is very tricky. One day I'm responsible for my kids' decisions, or at least for them being set on the right path. Does that make sense? And then helping them continuously and guiding them to stay on the path that the kids want to be on. Does that make sense? I can't choose for my kids. They have to choose for themselves, of course. But I can give my advice, I can give my guidance, I can do the things that I can be there for them. Okay? And I want to be there for them. So in the same way, your parents want to be there for you. If they don't, then make sure you listen to people who are way older than you. Okay? Listening to people who are your same age, they are just as confused and things are crazy in their lives as yours is. Okay? You've got to talk to people who have their lives in order. Okay, so moving on to understanding their now. Look at their lives. Look at what they do, and are they happy? Do they like going to that full-time job? Do they like their friends? Do they like the people they hang around with? Are they depressed? Are they anxious? Are they this? Are they that? The simple fact that you seek to understand by asking them questions about why things are the way they are, the more they will understand themselves, and the more they will understand, oh, I didn't think about that. That's interesting. You're becoming a coach already. Amazing. Because you're not only understanding them, you're understanding their past, you're understanding also why they want what they want for your future. They want the best for you. If they love you, they want the best for you. So you've got to realize, why do they want what they want for me and for my future? And then you've got to figure out if that's the right thing. Because here's the next principle. Most of the time, your parents have no idea what they're talking about. Let me go on to explain. If your parents are depressed, are unhealthy, are overweight, are anxious, are fearful, have issues, have relationship issues, are getting divorced, do you understand? If they have all of those things happening in their lives, obviously something doesn't work. Obviously something should have been different. Obviously, they should have been thinking differently. If your parents are fired up outside their brain, they absolutely love life, they're passionate about life, they're passionate about each other, they're excited, they take you out on vacations all the time, they bring you up, and they make sure that the family is happy all the time, going on, recreational activities and basically having lots and lots of fun. Do exactly what they have done. Okay? Trust me. That's the life you want. But if they're depressed and anxious and all those other things that I've mentioned in the past, maybe you should take a different path. And that's what's beautiful about seeking to understand and then applying the things that you believe are correct for your life. But remember, this would have never started if you didn't try first to seek to understand them before you try to be understood. The fact of the matter is, if you understand them, then you'll understand yourself better. And if you understand yourself better, you don't have that much of a need for having other people understand you. Does that make sense? However, once you do seek to understand, guess what's going to happen? They are going to do the karma thing on you, and they're going to seek to try to understand you. Boom! What happened? You now suddenly got along with your parents. Isn't that beautiful? Exactly. So, other things that you can do to get along with your parents, obviously, spending time with them and all those stuff. Getting rid of public school and private school is a huge thing, simply because you have time now. You can actually go with your parents to work. You can go with if your father is a business owner, go and learn. Go and see how he does things. Do you understand? You want to spend your teenage years understanding the world, not going to a classroom and being stuck in there all day and then having to avoid boys or get involved with boys or be involved with girls that you're never going to see in your entire life or in the rest of your life after graduation. Other things that you can do is to help around the house. If you help around the house, your parents are going to be alleviated of burden and therefore have capacity for you and for your siblings. It helps. Another thing that you can do is to tell them that you love them. Now, even though they're probably giving you a hard time and they're being idiots and stupid sometimes, okay? Don't tell them this, but they might, okay? You got to meet them where they're at. And you've got to understand that they do love you and they're providing for you. They're doing things for you. And you've got to show them that you appreciate it, that you're grateful, and that you love them. Very important. And lastly, what I want to say is keep watching this channel. Like, subscribe, comment down below of the benefits that you got from this video. And also tell me, I've got a question for you. Do you get along with your parents? And if you don't get along with your parents, then why not? Why do they not try to understand you? What do they not understand about you? So comment down below. I want to hear your views on this subject. And read books on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence and people skills is a beautiful place to start. As you combine that together with this channel, then wow. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for your life. Enjoy it, because this is just the beginning. This is the Girls of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I will see you again tomorrow.